recording. So Darius, thank you so much again for joining us today and for giving us a little bit about your background and your work with St. Francis Dining Hall and Catholic Charities. So would you mind kind of telling us a little bit about you? What's your background and what brought you to Catholic Charities?
Sure, absolutely. Well, starting off, born and raised in Wisconsin, left there when I was 18 years old joined the United States Navy. I did 2 tours in Iraq and 2 in Kosovo, 98 and again in 2000. And I left the military for civilian jobs. Nuclear steam plant operator is what I was doing in the Navy. Post Navy, I built aircraft carriers, built gas turbine power plants. So being a chef is technically my second career.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, just.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
So heck of a background for being a chef, but what I've realized is in this position that I'm doing now as the emergency culinary director for Catholic Charities, every job, every experience I've ever had in my entire life, it has come home, and I have to rely on all my different experiences, conversations that I may vaguely remember, things I've learned from other leaders and other colleagues and close friends, and over the years with all that. So I've been a chef in the private sector as well as the public sector for 15 to 20 years. I was a chef in a single patient private hospice. Specifically, it was my father who I was taking care of. He was extremely ill, and I was his personal chef, dietitian, nutritionist. I fired the nutritionist, I fired the dietitian, and helped my dad through his health. And unfortunately, he passed away. And I was really angry. I was really frustrated, just ticked off at the world. And so I took all that frustration and anger and started putting it into cooking professionally in restaurant setting 100%, which has completely catapulted me all the way here to where I am today, which I'm very thankful, extremely thankful for. When the pandemic hit, I got a double layoff. I furloughed myself from my own company, Wishbone Kitchen, Darius PDX Pop-Up, and then I was also a butcher at Urban Farmer at the Nines Hotel in downtown Portland. And right off the bat, I got motivated, inspired. I was like, okay, well, grocery stores were telling me that we need bodies to unload trucks, So I applied for 6 jobs in the first week, and was told I was overqualified to accept minimum wage and to work, 20 hours or 40 hours unloading trucks at the grocery stores, or even, stocking shelves at the grocery stores. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, just took some time for myself and started concentrating on some administrative duties for my own company. And I got a call from Chef Chris Domino, former of Trifecta Tavern and Clyde Common here in Portland. He put me in contact with Erica Palmer of Plate and Pitchfork. And Chris sent me this email thread, and I just broke down in tears. It was talking about inadequate kitchens, inadequate equipment, meals that need to hit 10,000 meals per week, need of massive professional volunteers. And I just literally broke down in tears. And I was like, okay, what is this email? What does all this mean? Chris was like, I know chefs from all over the world, and he's like, there's no one better prepared than you specifically. He's like, you're the only person that I know of that can take a challenge on, take a challenge on like this. So I was like, okay. So I just kept going further and met Rick, Kat, and Rose, and did a full extensive interview with them and did a walkthrough with them. And I got the opportunity as the emergency culinary director. That's basically the whole, what we're in is called the emergency culinary response. And I feel like when you're preparing or trying to prepare 10 to 15,000 meals per week, I feel like the term executive culinary director is in need of that. And when I say 15,000, the contract initially that we signed on board for, the Joint Office Homeless Services contract, was reading for 10,000 meals. By my third week into this position, we were already surpassing 15,000 meals. And that doesn't include the sack lunches that are all over the city. That didn't include the USDA food boxes that just started coming in. That was 15,000 hot meals coming at that time from Blanchet House as well as St. Francis Dining Hall. And mind you, also, that was just those two locations. We're not talking about Meals on Wheels, Salvation Army, Red Cross, other Catholic, parishes or other, denomination parishes, other food shelters. That's just two. So what I was estimating at that time was the city of Portland was, and this is a rough estimate, was probably putting out approximately, I would say, close to 100,000 meals per month, give or take. And that's a rough estimate. But if we were just doing 15,000 between two kitchens, and then you include all the different shelters online, all the churches, the city services as well, those numbers were increasing, rapidly, because 15,000 a week, that's 60,000 right there. Yeah. So I feel like 100,000 is probably even a little low. And so coming into this, analyzing, just in the first 6 weeks of my position, I saved approximately $45,000 of food waste that was just caught in the pipeline. So we haven't met food insecurity as a nation, as far as in the supply lines. But what the biggest problem is and challenge is food distribution. So the supply is there, and ironically enough, we have the demand. But that's when politics, that's when bureaucracy, that's when Washington's welfare for the farmers starts getting into the way. And that's why the USDA box program was started, was to start basically bringing, that produce, this milk, eggs or chicken, things like that, onto to the providers. That way we can redistribute as needed. This position has never existed, at least in Portland, because we've never been in a pandemic. And the way I look at it is we're in two pandemics. We're in COVID-19, and a lot of people believe that the food insecurity of what Catholic Charities is doing, what we are all doing, fighting in the protest of food insecurity, it's alive and well. And so the pandemic of food insecurity has been around since man decided to basically hoard food from someone else. That goes back, as many years. But now that these issues are in front of us because we don't have the distractions, we don't have sports on the television. We don't have, we're going to local restaurants, going to shopping malls, going on vacations. So those distractions are, for the most part, gone right now. And so now people are truly starting to understand the food insecurity in their own communities. And it's a huge problem. It's a massive problem. And so right now, my goals for St. Francis Dining Hall, with a delivery and distribution system in place, is to start prepping out and delivering 6,000 meals per week. When we had to shut down St. Francis Dining Hall for about approximately 2 weeks for safety concerns, logistical concerns, basically kind of press the restart button. And so I've been able to bring continuous, just many talented cooks from all different specs of, and volunteers from all different walks of life into the kitchen here to help me reach that goal. Just in the last 2 weeks, we went from 1,100 meals per week to 1,500, to now 1,600. And this week, we're probably going to be probably tipping the scales at close to 2,000.
Wow.
And also what's key in that factor is that we're at the end of the month. So SNAP benefits are low or have run out. WIC benefits, any subsidy of coming from the government, from our local government to our federal government, as far as in any kind of checks or SSI or disability that a lot of the community receives, is gone until next month. So, but even with those benefits, we need to continue to start pushing our efforts onto the east side, covering all the camps and making a map of these camps. 2 weeks ago, I discovered a hotel on Northeast 82nd, rolled up, and I was delivering 3 meals to 1 veteran, because TPI, Transition Projects, has a veteran program. They got a federal grant to start housing veterans in hotels. That gentleman wasn't home, but within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I was able to hand out approximately 50 or 60 meals to this entire hotel community that was 100% food insecure. So people think food insecurity is, it's the houseless. It's people that don't want to help themselves. It's this and that and the other. But what it is it's all of us. Because we lose our job tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor or an engineer. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're living in New York City and you make $60,000 a year, that's pennies in a bucket. You're barely keeping a roof over your head, let alone trying to eat. So food insecurity, along with the pandemic, is non-discriminatory. It doesn't matter who you are, what your beliefs are. And it's surprising of how many people in our society fail to believe that. It's like, oh, this never happens to me. This would never happen to me. I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a lawyer. Well, guess what? Now we're in a pandemic and things are only getting tougher. So, so my goal is to reach 6,000 here, and also start building collaborations and relationships with other resources, other nonprofits, and how we can achieve that 12,000 per week, 15,000 per week, because we can't do it by ourselves. I can't do this by myself. Catholic Charities can't do it by themselves. And what I've learned very quickly, Catholic Charities kind of steps out of the box a little bit, of that nonprofit. They step out of the comfort of what society says or what bureaucracy says a nonprofit should be doing. What I mean by that is refugee protection, immigration protection, protection against sexual assault, sexual trafficking, human trafficking. And I'm really proud to be part of an organization that stands for something true, such as that. And I think with Kat and Rose on my team, and they're able to help me navigate through the bureaucracy and through the politics, which then I can just focus on what I need to do. And I'm not caught up in it, as much. And a year ago, the irony is that all of these cooks in the kitchen, including myself, we wouldn't even be qualified to do what we're doing. I don't have a social work degree. I don't have a college degree. My college years were spent in the United States Navy learning nuclear steam propulsion. So technically, I have an associate's degree in nuclear steam propulsion.
No big deal.
No big deal. Pretty cool though. And as well as shipboard firefighting as well. And so I try to kick the door down on bureaucracy and politics, but it weighs on me at times. It's hard. It's being boots on ground and immersing yourself into this. It's definitely hard. But I remember my first tour in Iraq, and I got to speak to my dad before our ship went dark, which means there's no outside communication with your family or loved ones, of course. And I remember I got to call him, and he was a Vietnam veteran of 21 years. And he's like, remember your training, watch your six, make sure that you support your brothers and sisters, and make sure that they have your back. And it definitely got me through that. And I remember, I think of him, he's no longer with us, nor is my mother. And I think of them extremely often, of how they raised me and the things I learned in the military, and just things I learned from my father and from life. And it's a different battleground. It's a different protest. I'm more and more, I believe that I am I am protesting food insecurity. And that's what because when you think of food insecurity and you think of just the racism and the hate and war in our society as mankind, it all comes down to food insecurity. Because some people believe, oh, I have the power. It's like a movie. I have the power. I have the food and I have the water, and I control this and that and the other. So I believe that with change, somewhere in my heart, I still do believe, that we can win this fight, and continue to protest of food insecurity and educate ourselves and love one another and support one another to be able to push through this. Sorry, that was a mouthful.
No, that was awesome. That was perfect. Thank you so much for that. So another, I guess, kind of building on that, the food preparation and distribution efforts for Catholic Charities St. Francis Dining Hall, that sort of, it really arose once the pandemic started.
Yes.
So once all that, what's your vision for this incredible program, I guess maybe once things quote unquote go back to normal, or sort of once
I think that's an amazing question. I think it's a great question. I think if we had a vaccine, and I'll definitely summarize on this a little bit further as well. I think if we had a vaccine today for the world, one that was tested, one that was just perfect, which we both know doesn't really exist, but let's play that perfect scenario. The communities that we serve, whether it's the Catholic Charities or whether it's other nonprofits, we're still going to be in this, because it all comes down to greed. It comes down to discrimination, especially of the communities that we serve. And so I feel like, Portland, Oregon, the state of Oregon, things could be back to normal, if you will, come today or tomorrow. There's a vaccine. We've crushed this thing down. There's still going to be, and it breaks my heart to even think about it, but I have to be realistic. I have to truly understand my next steps of what we're all trying to do here. And I think a year from now, I do believe that we're going to be in this. The Spanish flu, I believe, was 1 to 2 years, roughly, give or take. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less. And I truly do believe that we're going to be in this for the long haul. And when I think all this started, no one was expecting, this is just a new flu, if you will. But it clearly is not. My goal set forth for this program is to continue, because we've learned before the pandemic that we were food insecure. Mm-hmm. So I should not be naive to believe that after the pandemic, we're not going to be food insecure. Mm-hmm. And it's harsh. It's a harsh reality, but it's the truth. And that's what I can't dwell on that, but what I have to do, what we all have to do, is we have to take that and build the solution. Mm-hmm. Instead of making excuses and this and that and the other. And that solution is I'm working on starting a whole animal butchery program in-house. And because if, it's those old, it's the tale, I shouldn't say tales, but it's some of the old wise tales, some of the beliefs that you hear from your, from the wise men and women that we've all grown up around, but also things from the Bible, as far as in, taking a loaf of bread, taking one fish and being able to feed on all that. I can't feed someone just one steak. I can't feed 200 people a day on that. But what I can do is I can feed an entire month on a whole head of cow. And I know how to do it. I know how to break it down. I have extremely skilled labor in my kitchens. Starting a bakery program at Catholic Charities there to put to put some love with these, to put more love with the meals, as well as hopefully starting a bake sale, and also starting a training program on it as well. So those are my goals, because those are long-lasting, realistic goals, because we're still going to be in this. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with a friend of mine at the farmers market, and he told me straight up, he's like, I love what you're doing, but I wish you could get fired. I wish you could just lose your job and there'd be no need for it. And I was like, yeah, me too. It'd be awesome to build this, and just like, next thing you know, I'm the one going to Catholic Charities and saying, you know what, there's no need for me. Everyone's housed, everyone's closed, everyone is showered, and everyone is fed, and everyone has groceries in their home. So that's, I think that's going to be my goal from here on out. I'm transitioning myself from being a restaurant chef, and I already started doing so for personal health reasons several years ago. And I'm going to continue to do what I do. And I want to help build Catholic Charities. I want to help build the side of Catholic Charities. So when there's another pandemic, or when there's something major that happens via Mother Nature, we have resources in place. And and with that being said, when we started this, or when I got involved in this, we were talking about midsummer to late summer. And people were like, "You guys are crazy." It's like, I was like, do you guys not believe in science? Like, do you not believe reading a book? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean we're crazy? And so here we are, we're on the doorstep of August 1st, and here we are. The temperatures are getting hotter outside. The food insecure numbers are increasing. The COVID-19 is increasing. The houseless population is increasing. And we not only have to plan for today and tomorrow, but we have to start looking ahead into the fall, and more importantly, into the winter. Mm-hmm. One of the things that this pandemic has done is it has shut down cooling centers. It has shut down warming shelters. Just because there's just such a high risk of opening up shelters, especially with that are serving food, and we haven't figured it out yet. There's conversations, and I'm a big belief, like, okay, let's have a conversation and let's figure it out. Boots on ground, let's get it running. Mm-hmm. I don't know the solution for any of those, for any of that. The county and local resources, as well as state resources, are assisting the overall with having hotels open, providing at least some sort of shelter for the houseless. But still, 15,000 meals a week, I feel like it's not even enough. When I'm driving, my partner and I, my girlfriend and I, we go for a lot of country drives. It's like, okay, well, if things are gonna be shut down or whatever, let's just go off into the wilderness and just drive around, go for a walk. And when you leave the Portland Metro, what do you see when you're leaving Portland Metro? You see all these camps and new camps around. It doesn't matter if it's my neighborhood, your neighborhood. It doesn't matter whose neighborhood it is. We're all seeing it. So it's like, okay, like, I'm part of the solution now. So how can I continue to be part of the solution and create something? And how do I create something also that's safe for everyone? Physically, mentally, emotionally safe for everyone, that they feel like they're not going to be judged. Mm-hmm. There's people who stand in my line. They're like, hey, there's, RVs throughout the city. There's vans throughout the city, and there's families living in these. And when our guests come up, they're like, oh, it's me and my girlfriend, or there's a couple specifically, I'm pregnant and we're living in our car. Mm. I'm like, here's 3 or 4 meals. Yeah. And like, are you sure that's okay? And I said, if I have the food, I'm going to give it to you. Yeah. And it's a reality. It's, back in our just back a few minutes ago in the conversation, a year ago, I wouldn't be qualified because I don't have a degree in psychology, psychiatry, social work. I haven't done enough volunteer hours. I haven't done enough this. I don't have a doctorate. All that does ties you, and this is my own personal belief, that ties you into a box.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you learn is how to deal with the bureaucracy. I don't have time to learn how to deal with bureaucracy other than boots on ground every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm very thankful for the team I have. Rick Burkle, Kat Kelly, and Rose Bach. I cannot, as well as Stephanie. I can't do this without them. They help me navigate through all of that, so I can continue to do that. And what that does really is it brings a free mind to the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've lived in a home with no heat. I've lived out of my own pickup truck. I've lived on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I have been on food stamps. I've been on unemployment. I grew up on welfare. I know I remember growing up on welfare, holding my mama's hand with pride.
Mm-hmm.
And I had both of my parents. My dad worked his butt off, and we were still in the welfare line. And I hold that very dear to my heart, because that has etched a foundation in me. That has built a foundation in me of, I know what it's like as a little boy, and I know what it's like as a grown man. And I'm also very stubborn. I don't like asking for help. And so with this position that I'm doing, with these responsibilities, I have to always continue to ask for help. Mm-hmm. But growing up the way I did, as we did in my household, it definitely built a foundation of, don't forget where you come from. Mm-hmm. Don't ever forget about it, and do something about it. If you want to make a change, do something about it. And my parents were my father, an African-American, Native American man, started his own business, did 21 years for this country in Vietnam, and started his own business by his 40th. And he ran that business very successfully, and he worked his butt off 7 days a week. And I wish I could sit here today and have a conversation with my parents. I hold them very dear in my heart and my mind every single day. And I truly hope and pray that they are extremely proud of me. But I carry those foundations with me every day to make a positive change, and to be. Ultimately, I'd like to not be here after the pandemic, mm-hmm. Like I said earlier, but I don't think it's realistic right now.
Yeah, it really seems like, the way you're brought up and sort of just who you are really melds and just fits perfectly with the St. Francis Dining Hall's ethos of just radical hospitality and
right.
Doing something about the problem, being part of the solution, doing whatever you can, regardless of, like you said, bureaucracy.
Just with the saving approximately $45,000 in the first 6 weeks, and that was part of bureaucracy. It was the supply chain that was held up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, screw it, forget that. I'm going to load it up myself, and I'm going to distribute all over the city. And I did. Mm-hmm. And it was exhausting.
Yeah.
But I was able to do that, and I'm very proud of doing that, because that's my responsibility as a chef. That's my responsibility as a human being. Mm-hmm. Help everyone that needs a hand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wow. Well, you have an incredible amount of work to do, amount of work that you have done. What could you walk us through, like a typical day for you? Because it seems to sort of run the gamut.
It really does. I think Wednesdays are a great example. I usually start my day, depending on if I'm opening up the dining hall or not, which I do quite a bit. I usually start my day about 7:30, and I'm not a morning person. Pandemic has created a morning person. It's weird. It's like, we remember when you were in the military, you got up at 2:00 in the morning. But it's, my Wednesdays start off with anywhere from 500 to 800 USDA food boxes coming in. Sometimes it's me and a handful of volunteers. Sometimes it's me plus one. So that can take an entire day right there, especially if we're getting just dairy boxes in and being able to repack those boxes with produce. I'm constantly on, text, phone, and email communications. I got the great idea today going to cash and carry. The gentleman's like, why don't you call Columbia Distribution, aka Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and ask for a water donation? And I was like, I didn't even think of that. Thank you, I will. So I'm constantly, trying to see how we can connect new resources with one another. Donations coming in from farmers, from just the community, from basically just trying to connect all that. A big part of my time is balancing my time in the kitchen, cooking on a regular basis when I don't have volunteers to do so. It's my responsibility. If I don't have volunteers, we still have food that needs to go out, period. There's also days where I might be in front of the computer for 10 hours straight, answering phone calls, text messages, trying to figure out, what's next week look like? What's the week after that look like? Do I have enough volunteers? Am I in the kitchen 6 days a week? And that it definitely shifts on every single day. My goal right now is to start a bakery program, start a butchery program, and be open a 6-day here at St. Francis Dining Hall. And then also with that 6-day, start collaborating with other resources, other nonprofits like Crisis Kitchen, Feeding the Mass, and seeing how we can start collaborating to reaching the goals. The goals every single day to reach 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 meals. The day-to-day just shifts. There's days where I've been in the walk-in and the freezer all day, just removing everything, rearranging, making sure that we're, going through everything properly, things like that, making sure there's plenty of room for donations coming in. Right now, I'm also working on setting up a secondary kitchen in St. Francis Dining Hall, basically like a prep area, because we're receiving reach-in coolers as a donation. Awesome. So I'm constantly looking for donations. I need, volunteer hours, monetary donations for our program, for our food program specifically, so we can increase, if I have to buy a head of beef, maybe it's at 50%, something like that, 50% cost, because I'm constantly trying to think about a larger picture, as well as spend time with my family. We have a 13-year-old Pitty, and I have an amazing, just an amazing girlfriend that I could not do this without, that is, definitely a day-to-day. Like tonight I'm cooking solo. So I'm having my AM team just basically set me up for success for this evening. I also have boxes to prepare for Vaz, who does the migrant day workers, working with them. And so, it's a little bit of everything. I constantly write my job description about every day.
Yeah. It sounds freeing, but also like, oh my God.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. Thank you so much for everything you've done and the program that you and Kat and Rose have created. And really, we couldn't ask for a better person to do it.
Thank you.
Guy for the job.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to say, it was from a question from an emailer from earlier. I wanted to explain just a little further on is what drives me in this, or why do I do this? Being a Navy veteran, serving 4 tours in two different war fronts, and making that decision when I was 9 years old, having that conversation with my dad. Just because I took off the uniform doesn't mean that I need to, or any of us, stop serving our community. And I'm a big believer. The reason why I joined the military was 2 reasons. Thank those before who came before me, who sacrificed anything and everything to do that. And also, I took a responsibility to defend and protect others who didn't have a means to do so. And that still plays true to me every single day, especially now, wearing that honor, that badge of honor of being a veteran, but also now protesting food insecurity, because I want to still continue to help those in need who cannot help themselves, and also provide them a meal so they can have a foundation for a free thought, for a clear thought, for a moment to like, okay, this is what I need to do tomorrow. I just had an amazing breakfast or an amazing dinner. How can I move forward to tomorrow for a better day? So, I realize that more and more every single day. That's the mission I've signed up for. That's the protest I'm part of, is for food insecurity and to help those in need.
Yeah, absolutely. Having those basics, it's like they can be so easily taken for granted,
Right. Absolutely.
And it's like, oh, well, I've always had that, and now that I don't have that, I can't, do these other things and be self-sufficient and, move my life forward. So it's so crucial.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from you, and we all are Catholic Charities, and
awesome.
Looking forward to being in touch. And good
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And any way to just get our message out there. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest thing is, so thank you for taking the time to help me having that voice be heard, having our voices be heard, because we have a long way to go and we need a lot of resources. Mm-hmm. And the more people that are aware of our efforts and the positive nature of what we're doing, I welcome all the support in all different aspects. So thank you so much for helping all of us get our voices heard and out there, and just being able to put some human touch into it, some love and some care. So I really do thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, of course. It's what it's all about, right? It doesn't work
Absolutely.
if it's there.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you.
And thank you again. And feel free to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any questions or anything like that, please reach back out, and absolutely, I will do the same.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Darius.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day as well.
Yeah, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.